You're live.
All right. Good evening. The West Hartford Public Library Board.
Eileen,
Meeting.
unmute, please.
Wait,
I can hear.
you want it mute?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me start. This is the meeting of the West Hartford Library Boarding, and the meeting will come to order. Welcome to our January 23rd, 2023 meeting of the West Hartford Library Board. My name is Eileen Daly, and I am the chair of the West Hartford Library Board. This meeting is being conducted in a virtual format allowed by law. Members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television at www.whctv.org and www.youtube.com/WHCTV5. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website for at least 45 days. Since we are conducting this meeting in a virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before we begin. First, I ask all participants to mute your device when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order I see hands raised. If you are participating by audio only, or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, all speakers must make a good faith effort to state the person's name and title at the outset of each occasion that such person participates in the meeting. Third, all votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. Fourth, a reminder that if any participant has a problem with connectivity, you should immediately call Janet Valensis, whose phone number you were provided earlier. Janet will let me know and we will recess the meeting while the problem is resolved. If it cannot be resolved quickly, we will ask you to call into the meeting using a phone and participate via audio only. I will now call the roll and note the staff members who are present. Kim Cohen.
Kim Cohen, Library Board Member, present.
Gail Crockett.
Gail Crockett, Library Board Member here.
Natalia Menguvar.
Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member here.
Jill Spear.
Jill Spear, Library Board Member here.
Also present is lrmscher, Library Director, Office Operations Specialist Janet Valensis. And Laura, do we have any library staff joining us?
Not tonight.
Okay, thank you. That's that. All right. So since this is a virtual meeting, we're going to stick to the original agenda because it's too late to change. We did the call to order. Did we have any public comment from anyone on record? All right, so that's a no. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for items 4, 8AI and 8AII?
So move.
Thank you, Gail.
Library Board Member, so move.
All right.
Kim
May I
Cohen,
have a
Library
second?
Board Member, second.
Thank you. And then moving on to the approval, may I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of the November 28th, 2022 meeting?
I think you need to call
Okay.
roll for the first motion.
Okay, I think I intended to, and then Janet, okay. May I have a roll call? I thought I did, yeah. Did I forget to continue?
We did the motion. We did the motion to approve.
Yes.
But we didn't actually vote on it. So it was voted.
Oh, I see that roll. Okay. May I have a roll showing your approval of the motion for item 3? Okay, Gail?
Gail Crockett, Library Board Member, approve.
Anyone else? Natalia?
Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member approve.
Kimberly?
Kim Cohen, Library Board Member, approve.
Jill Spear,
Jill Spear, library board member, approve.
thank you. All right, so let me try this again for number 4. May I have a motion of approval for the minutes of the November 28th, 2022 meeting, please?
I think you don't need that, Eileen, because it's in the consent agenda.
Is this number 4? That's number 4. All right, moving down to the chair's report. The item here concerns the election of officers, and I just wanted to report that we will be taking care of that at the February meeting. So that's happening for tonight. Item number 6 is old business. That concerns a new community center and library project that we're all familiar with Jill Spear and lrmscher. You're up.
I can start that one, lrmscher, Library Director. So this is actually this feasibility study has concluded. So Tecton was the architectural firm who was hired to do the feasibility study, and they have completed their project. They gave a presentation to some subcommittees of the town council. It was a joint meeting with the Community Planning and Economic Development and the Human and Community Services Committee. So they gave a presentation of their findings, and then they wrote, I think it was a 367-page report, which detailed all of their work, talking with the community, with staff from the town departments, with all of their outreach activities and the surveys and everything that we've been reporting on since the project began, all of their work with the advisory committee. They compiled it into one document. And so the final result was outline and a vision of what the building could be. It's not the final design of the project, as they've been saying all along, but they were charged with putting all of the components together and seeing how it would work together. So this report, we have one physical copy, because again, it's very large, it's like this big. So that's at the Faxon branch. And we're working on getting the online version of the whole report up on our project page of our website. We do have the slides available that Tecton showed to the town council. That's up on the project page. And I wanted to show you, they did a rendering of the outside of the building. So I thought I'd just share my screen for a minute and show you, again, what a possible building would look like. So I'm going to pull that up now. Can you all see that?
Oh, wow.
So this is their imagination of the building. So this is a driveway as you would approach a drop-off area. A front door as you walk in. To the left would be the senior center, and then up on the second floor is the library. And certainly in this shot, the library, I think, has the most prominent place. You can see the bookshelves, the different colored stacks up on the second floor there. And then over to the right side would be the large multi-purpose room and a gymnasium behind it. And the building goes back quite a ways because there's a lot in there. But I thought this was a nice visual to give you a concept of what a building with all of these facilities could look like and how it can be a real destination for the community.
Yeah. That's very nice.
And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but this is available in the report and on the presentation slides on the project page. So the feasibility study is concluded, and then the next steps would be to move forward with the design. So that lives with the town council and the town manager to determine kind of how we work that out. But then for the building to move forward, they would issue an RFP for an architecture firm, which could be Tecton or could be somebody else, to do the actual design of the building. So that's the conclusion of the study and kind of where we are with the project. And I didn't know if there was any questions. Jill, I don't know if you have anything to add. The advisory committee hasn't met since our last meeting. They kind of finished their role.
Yeah, so we have the message from town manager basically saying, you saw it. Thank you very much. You guys are done. So, I think one thing is, since the report was given to the subcommittees, Laura, is there any action that the town council has to take, or is the subcommittee's recommendation to say, is the action just simply, we accept the report and we're recommending you that the town move forward? I mean, is that the action out of the feasibility study, essentially?
Yeah, the action is to accept the report. They don't have to approve it. They're accepting the study that was done. And then they're figuring out, there was a sizable price tag that came with the building. So they're figuring out I think the town council's figuring out their next steps as the town for what to do. But as far as the study piece, they don't have to vote to accept it. They just heard it. It was like put into the record for the committee, so that they've now been formally given the information.
Have any sense then is this, I mean, obviously they're accepting the report and then the council is looking at it. Clearly it's not only the functionality and the value to the community, but then there's always the price tag and where's the money going to come from? Do they have any sort of timeline? Does that analysis with the town go on at the same time as the RFP to an architecture firm?
I haven't heard anything about the timeline. So I'm not sure how much they have to line up before they issue the RFP, or if they can. I would imagine at least some of that can overlap. But some of it goes to the scope of the architecture firm. And, so I don't have any more specifics though on that, but I'm happy to share it with the board as soon as I hear more.
Thank you.
Well, it's an attractive looking building. Glad we got to see that. That could turn into. So, all right, let's move on to the new business section, and looks like we've got fiscal year 24 budget, Laura, and then a fine fee proposal.
Laura Ermscher, Library Director. So it is budget season, and on the early part of January, the town departments were instructed to submit their budgets to the town for review. So we got some information from the finance director, and they asked us to consider several things when putting together a budget: how we deliver services, certainly the impact of inflation and the rising costs in a lot of different areas, any possible efficiencies in their work, and also thinking about how our budget relates to the tax burden on the residents. And so we submitted our budget that was mostly a maintenance budget. The only cost increases were for the wages due to contractual obligations and the minimum wage increase that was mandated by law. In our personnel expenses, we did submit a budget that includes the salary of the vacant librarian 2 position that's been unfunded for a few years. So we continue to advocate very strongly that that's a critical position that we need at the library. We made some modifications within some budget lines. So the total cost is the same, but we looked at how we're delivering services now. So for example, we moved some money out of a mileage fund and moved it over into teen programming. So we made some adjustments to better reflect what we're doing, but it was really important for us to deliver a budget that was that we were maintaining the same costs as last year to the extent possible. And then we had one major initiative, which is for proposals for our library to go fine-free. And the budgetary impact on this is a reduction in the revenue that we bring in through fines. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the fine-free proposal. I shared with you the memo that I had submitted to the town. And so what fine-free means is that we stop collecting overdue fines on books and other materials that are returned to the library after the due date. And the reason that we're making this proposal is to provide more equitable services to our residents. Charging fines creates a barrier to library services, particularly for low-income residents, for children and families. When people are asked to pay late fines when they're not financially able to do so, it creates an uncomfortable situation for both patrons and staff, and it turns away the patrons who need us the most. The budget impact is very small. Fines represent only 0.63% of our budget last year. And our library resources are intended to be free. The true purpose of setting a due date is to get the material back, not to impose a hardship on any of our patrons. We will still, under this proposal, we would still charge a replacement fee if an item is never returned to the library. So this does allow us to purchase an item to replace the one that didn't come back so that we can avoid a negative impact on our collection, or replace it with a similar item that would be more relevant if it's out of date or something like that. Many libraries across the country have already gone fine-free, and they've seen many benefits. So we're able to learn from the libraries that have already gone through this and seen how it's affected them. They've seen an increase in the percentage of materials returned. People are not afraid to come back to the library, so they're bringing their things back, whether it's overdue or not. They've seen an increase in library card registrations, an increase in the number of students using the library for homework. And there's many other benefits, but those are very tangible numbers that are furthering what we're here for. This is a local and a national trend. Over 110 libraries in Connecticut have gone fine-free. And in our consortium, 23 of the 33 libraries are fine-free now. And in addition to the benefits for our patrons, eliminating fines also eliminates difficult customer service interactions. People are asking us every day why we are charging fines when other libraries right next to us are not. Our mission is for the library to be welcoming for all. Our values state we are a welcoming center for free and equitable access to information. And going fine-free means we're upholding our mission and our values, and we're really serving all of our patrons. And so I'm just going to summarize with the budget, and then I'm happy to answer questions or open it up for your discussion. I submitted this fine pre-proposal with our budget, and I'll be meeting with the town manager and finance director in a few weeks to go over our budget. The town meets with each department and they submit the total budget for the town council to review. And going fine-free is a policy decision. So that's clearly the board's role, but it also has financial implications. And so it's going to both you and the town. So I'm asking for your support to be fine-free, and I'll be asking the town to support the financial implications of the policy. If this proposal does move forward, we'll have to update our circulation policy. That's the document that outlines the fees that we charge, but I didn't do that yet. I just wanted to propose to you the concept of it. And then if it moves forward, we can follow up with that change in policy. So with that, I'm happy to give you any more information and answer any questions.
Kim Cohen, library board member. Sorry, Gail, did you want to go first? I didn't mean to jump you.
No, your voice appeared, I think, before my hand.
Will there be an express provision in the new policy that addresses past fees? I mean, I assume we're waiving anything that was pending from the past too, or are those people not off the hook?
I would propose that we waive any existing fines, but that we keep, there's a fine amount, or it's a separate fee for replacement for things that didn't return. So I think we keep those in place. And that's the way that we can kind of shut off an account. So if anyone is abusing the system, if they're taking things and not returning them, we can block their account that way. For the minor few who might do that. So I would keep that in place, but I would propose waiving any existing fines once this goes into effect.
I think that makes sense. I was just curious how that'd be handled. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're.
Gail Crockett, library board member. So Laura, how do you measure when a book is not being returned to circulation? So let's say I'm late returning a book. At what's the period that you determine that book is not coming back?
It's automatically set up in our system. So you have a loan period. It's depending on the book, it's either 2 to 3 weeks. DVDs are a little shorter. So you have a loan period. And then you have up to 3 renewals. So if no one else has it on hold, those are automatically renewed. So you can keep it for 3 more periods. And then I believe it's 1, and then it becomes overdue if you don't return it, then after that due date. And then I believe it's a full loan period. So it would be like the additional 3 weeks, and then it goes into a lost status. So each step is like programmed into our catalog, and it automatically flips after it passes that date. Once an item goes into lost status, there's a replacement fee that's associated with it. And so if the book costs $10, then you'd have a $10 charge put on your card. If it's a higher value item, it would be a higher charge. And then that also blocks your account. So if you try to check out something else, the staff would explain to you, you have items that have been lost. So you either need to give us a new item to replace it or give us the cost of the item to replace it. And then we can clear your account.
Well, I'm very happy to hear we're moving in this direction because I found it extremely embarrassing that our town was charging late fees when towns, on our border were not. And so, and I do agree with all the points you made about removing hindrance on the behalf of those who were afraid to come to the library and get a book for fear they wouldn't ever return it, then they couldn't pay the late fee. So I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, and it's definitely community friendly. And I hope it gets publicized so that, people feel that way. In conjunction with that, I was just thinking that maybe when we get to April, which is what, National Library Week or whatever, and we do that kind of donate to the library, maybe as part of that we could say, oh, and by the way, if you have any books, that's one way you could donate back to the library, give us back our books. I mean, it may sound corny, but it's a way to remind people if you've got books out there, we want them back. And while you're donating, maybe you can't give a monetary, well, however we work that out. But I think that would be a good way to hook the two of those together. And finally, whatever happened to trying to get the community relations position filled? Remember, you said the town manager was going to keep it in his mind. And I didn't hear you say we got any funding for that. It was a part-time position, right?
So I think you're referring to the vacant position, which is the publicity programs and outreach position.
No, I thought it was community relations or outreach or something. Remember? There was it wasn't filled, and then you said, well, he said he would try to
Mhm.
see if it was possible. It sounds like it went out, but it just blew away.
So we don't have it yet, but we're still working on it. So I'm still in conversations with the town manager and the finance department to see if it's something that we can add into our current fiscal year. So we were not given any funding for it in our current budget. So we would need a separate process for it to be added in during this fiscal year. Our next option would be for it to be added into the FY24 budget, which starts next July. And that's the budget that I'm talking about that we submitted the proposal for. So I remain persistent that I'm trying to get support and funding for the position, but it's not something that we have now.
Okay, and did part of the budget include, or did it not need to include the activity for the what did we call it? The fun run where we were going to have at St. Joseph's, but that got waylaid. And I thought you said the staff were going to pick that up and run with it. Was that a budgetary? Yeah.
That was a foundation grant. So that is still going to be a program that is hosted by the library, but the funding for it is coming from a foundation grant.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
Not
Thank you.
Jill,
Thank you.
you're up.
Laura, I think I didn't hear properly. Did you, when you were talking about, you're saying that in the proposal, you would still track when material is returned late. They just wouldn't get a fine fee, correct?
Correct. It would still go into overdue status. So if you look up your account, you would see your book is due. Everything still has a due date. It would be overdue. You would get reminders from the library to return it. There just is not a financial penalty associated with it.
And then does I think I heard it correctly, but I'm just going to verify that because you're keeping track of that and sending out the reminders to the patron, you're also tracking that for, did I hear it correctly, for right word, continued abusers of the system, right? And they.
Oh, yeah, so if we have certain blocks and levels on accounts, so you can't check out, you can't have a certain number of things overdue or in a lost category, which is like extended overdue. You've had it for a long time and it's gotten to the point that we think you might not be bringing it back. So for whatever category it's in, the catalog tracks that. So it's, there are blocks that are set up at the user level to make sure people can't keep checking out more things until they've brought back the ones that are overdue. Did that answer your question?
Well, I think that partial, that was additional information, so that was good. So, but if that's like if it's you're in that state right now, but if you are habituating person saying you're only at, I don't know, level 1, but you're always at level 1, or you're going into level 1 for long, for years or whatever. So basically you're abusing the system over long term. Are you going to look at that in terms of tracking that? Because you would, I don't know if you track that now, but associated with loss of privileges, not because right now you're in that state, but tracking over time, you keep going in and out of that state forever. You're never good. You never behave.
Yeah, our main goal is to get the materials back. So if there's somebody who's not returning the materials, then we're tracking that. But if there's somebody who is always a few days late, we're not tracking that.
So just one thought, I just want to propose one thought to you that you think about whether you should track that, and because for those people, the fine, I'm not proposing you fines, but the fine might have been the incentive that kept them from being a habitual abuser. And if so, the loss of privilege, our policy that deals with loss of privileges, it's something you might want to consider. And I don't know what the industry is doing with this, this sort of tracking and loss of privileges, but it's, how we can lose privileges as a patron for a variety of reasons. It's something you might want to consider, because one of my ongoing questions is there's a whole bunch of good reasons to do this. And the question is, what are the negative, I don't want to say negative, what are the cons? You give us the pros, they're wonderful. What are the cons from the town perspective? Is it anything other than the money, which is 0.63 or whatever percent, which is still what, $55,000 a year or something?
It's like 20 to 30,000.
Now, yeah, probably the pandemic brought that down. So then, and what is the perspective of the residents? Are there any negative perspectives other than the money from the town point of view? And is, I suppose, the money from the residents' point of view, in that lost revenue, if you're, I know that in the past, some people have argued that those people that are habitual, whatever, users of the policy, some residents may feel like this is negatively incenting them to continue that behavior and feel like, hey, it's my tax dollars you're taking because Joe Schmo isn't, doing his social responsibility. So do we have to make all the arguments for this, but are there, other than saying the finance and the impact on the community from the other side, do we ever do, what is that called? Contrary analysis. What's the contrary analysis other than money? Or maybe, maybe there is always just money.
So we're dealing with a fine. So I think the major opposite is that we're not getting that revenue, right? Because we're eliminating a charge. So that's the major impact. I would say that certainly we've learned from what other libraries have done, but we would also track our own data once we put this into place. So we would see if like what other libraries are seeing is happening here. But I would also say that a lot of libraries have found that it changes the dynamic, and it's not, we're not being punitive to our users. We're creating a system and an atmosphere where we want you here and we want you to use our materials and resources, and we're not going to penalize you if you can't meet that. And the due date and the sort of public social contract of people using the library is oftentimes what compels people to bring it back. It's not the 10 cents a day or whatever the fine is. It's that they know that somebody else is waiting for it and they bring it back. And we found that a lot of times the people that have a very small amount on their account are very concerned about it because of the obligation to the library. It's not necessarily to them about the cost of it. And I would worry about looking too much at people who are maybe habitually late, because there could be reasons why people might not be able to always get to the library as frequently as they want. Kids might have divorced parents and their book gets lost at the other home and they can't always return it. And so I don't want it to be a situation where they can't take something out from the library because the library is wondering why they can't get it back on time. I want the stuff back. I want it here to share with the residents of our community. But there's so many reasons that could cause someone to be a little bit late, that once we start going down that path of questioning, why couldn't you bring it back? It's just as punitive as the fines. And I don't want that relationship with our community.
I think I was asking about that part, because I think I understand that part. It's just that, are there any other perspectives? And I think what you're saying is it's really just the money is the only other view. And then a related question, just one part related question to that is, this would apply to all our loans, so that if someone from another town, since in Connecticut, you don't even just have to be part of a consortium, any resident of any town in Connecticut, so it would apply to all those as well?
Yeah, so how, sorry, Natalia, I know you wanted to jump in. The rules of the institution that owned the item apply. So if someone from New London comes and checks out a book at our library, they have to abide by our loan rules, even if it was sent to them. If they didn't come into, if it was sent through the delivery system and they picked it up at a different library, they follow our loan rules because it's our item. So that's how it works with all other libraries.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for waiting.
No, Brian. Natalia Menjivar, library board member. Jill, was it possible you were thinking that maybe more materials might go delayed and patrons who are like following the rules might have trouble accessing them or getting things on time because they're like out in circulation or they're out?
It's not my, I'm sorry, library board member Jill Spear. So Natalia, it's not my own personal concern. I just feel the discussion always focuses on here's all the values as opposed to here's all the challenges. And I want the discussion to have both parts of it, saying we will be addressing the challenges. We know they exist, and therefore we'll addressing, like Laura's going to address the financial part with the town, right? Seeing if they, you know, that. And so the other thing is, I'll just throw one out. I have no idea how you do this, but let's say that we find that they're habitual, we'll have trouble getting it back. Maybe there's something in our delivery system that we would learn if we found it. I don't say not having the fine. I'm not saying have the fine. I'm saying perhaps those challenges would provide some, if we investigate them, provide some insights in how our operation works. Do you know what I mean? To better the overall operation. Nothing to do with the money, Laura, just operation. So I wasn't saying don't do it, Natalia. I'm just saying we should understand all the perspectives.
Definitely. And I mean, my question for Laura would be, with the other libraries that have implemented this no fine, is it something where is it something where those libraries are finding that more items are being extended in how long they've been kept and therefore might be less accessible to the rest of the patrons?
I think that I'd have to look into that more. I haven't seen any specific statistics about the loan period, like about something being out longer than before, but I could look into that.
Wondering. Thanks.
Laura, Gail here. So once again, I'm always trying to think of ways to make things work. And so, yeah, it is a money issue because there's lots of revenue. But on the other hand, there are ways we can get things back. For example, like the tax department. I think we should have a few free bring back your book promotions, you know, like set up bins in the branches or town hall and make it convenient for people to know they can drop off their book they have that they may have forgotten into the bin so they can get collected. And I don't know if the other towns who have no fines do that, but it seems to me people like to be able to feel they can return something. I don't think people really want to keep. They may forget, they could be sick. You know, there's a variety of legitimate reasons that could go into that long-term overdue situation. But I think if the library, you know, you all could come up with 2 or 3 times during the year with, hey, it's free return your book day, even if it's overdue. I don't know if it's been tried, and since this is our first time out the gate, it might be worthwhile doing just to see if it does result in books coming back. I do realize you're not getting the money, but you're not replacing the book either, right? If you get it back or whatever the item is.
Right, and I have seen some libraries, as they roll this out, combining it with a return your library materials effort. So it's not just announcing the fine free, but it's letting everybody know, bring your stuff back. There's no penalty. We'd love to get all the books back. It's a great opportunity to come back to the library. Maybe you've been avoiding that $5 fine, so come on in. If you have any books, drop them off on your way, something like that. So we would definitely look into that as part of the like announcement and promotion.
Thank you.
Eileen Daly, Chair. Laura, so this is, you said a policy decision. So this will be voted on next month or something then? I
So,
think that we can take a little bit more of a look.
yeah,
I don't know
so
if you surveyed the community or not, or do you need to? Or
I mean, I think we've gotten feedback from residents and we get it pretty regularly. So it's not a formal survey, but it's something that we have been hearing from them. And with every library that goes fine free, we hear it more.
even more?
Yeah, that why aren't we on
Has
that
the town
list?
said anything to you?
Oh, but I have not had my first meeting with them to review our submission
Oh.
is being scheduled. It's either going to be
Oh,
next
okay.
week or the following week.
All right. Well, this is all very interesting, and I think people will probably be relieved not to have to worry about fines. How about if we, is everybody all set? I think maybe we should bring this back for next month as well. Agreed or not agreed? Yes, okay, that's good. There's, I think, should I make a motion then to do that, or just, we'll just table it till next month, right? I can table. I move that I'm tabling this topic until next month's meeting in February. Oh, very good. So thank you so much, Laura. It's a lot that went into this, I can see. And appreciate that. So moving on. Oh, you've got a staff day to talk about in March.
Yes, thank you, Laura Ermscher, Library Director. So we have been tweaking with our professional development days a little bit. You may remember that last year we had a full day in May that we were closed to the public for staff training and professional development. And then in September, we did a half day. And after talking with staff, they really enjoyed the half day experience. They thought there was a good balance of getting the training we needed and still being able to open in the afternoon to provide some public service to people. And the public appreciated not losing a full day access to the library. So we would like moving forward to have 2 half days a year, one in the winter, springish, one in the fall. And that gives us good opportunities to get together face to face, do our trainings. By having 2 days, we can cover a lot of ground and still balancing the public service. So I am coming to you today to ask for your approval to have a staff day on March 23rd. So we would close from 9 to 2 for professional development, and then we, for all locations, and then we would open from 2 to 5.
That's terrific.
And I do need a vote on that.
Yeah, that was my, I was just commenting. So may I please have a motion to approve the half-day staff day on March 23rd, 2023? Jill? Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve Laura's.
And then I see you, Talia.
Natalia Menjivar, Library Board Member, second the motion.
Nice, thank you. Okay, so that's, then you'll come back with your other half day. Laura, correct?
Should we
Okay.
go around with the vote now?
Mhm.
Yes. Thank you. All in favor, please, should have a show of hands and I'll do the roll call. Gail Crockett, Kim Cohen. Oh, okay.
Kim Cohen, library board member, approve.
Natalia,
Natalia Menjivar, library board member, approve.
Bill Spear.
Bill Spear, library board member, approve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are you all set for your director's reports?
Yeah, I just had a quick update. I know we're running long, but I wanted to share with you that we have started our Sunday hours. So we are
Oh,
open 10
yes.
Sundays this year. Our first one was yesterday. And we're open from 12 to 4 on these Sundays. And we had a fun music program to kick off our first Sunday. We had Mark
Nice.
Lebesque and Judy Handler. They played the mandolin and guitar for over an hour. We had our meeting room at full capacity and the audience loved the program. So it was great to open on a Sunday and have so many people in the building.
That's terrific.
We've also launched our winter reading challenge for adults. So you can stop by any location and sign up. We have a cute little graphic and a bingo card that you can fill out with the different categories. We have bi-weekly prizes. And if any board members are participating, we'd love to hear about it. We're promoting staff on social media as you get a bingo. We're trying to promote the program and share kind of what we're reading. So if any of you are participating and wouldn't mind sharing, we'd love to do that with you too. Our Studio 20 South is really taking off with the activity. Our patrons are using the space to make a lot of gifts and interesting things that we never would have thought of. We love seeing the creativity they bring there. We've launched a beginner podcast class, and there's really growing demand for programming in that space. And we launched a puzzle exchange at the Noah Webster Library here. People are invited to bring in a puzzle, take one home, try it out. We've actually been getting more puzzles than people are taking. So we would also like to invite you to just come and take a puzzle because we have a lot. But these are really fun ways that we're trying to grow the community aspect of the library, that there's more fun things that you can do in our space that you can take home, that you can enjoy with your family and friends. So I will keep my report brief, but also always happy to answer any questions or give you any information if you're curious about anything.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And at this point, on the agenda, we're going to go into an executive session. So, I forget, do I adjourn now?
Well, I had a question about that one. I wasn't sure if that was going to be tabled for the next meeting. To go into executive session,
Sorry,
we have
cut
to
out.
do a separate WebEx, which we can do. Maybe I was misunderstanding. I thought we were tabling that for next meeting. I'm sorry.
Well, we couldn't change the
Prepared to do
agenda
that now?
because it's,
If we're not going to do it, we can just state that we're tabling that portion. But if you need to go into executive session, we can set that up.
I think the contents of that meeting for the executive session have now been tabled, so there's no need for it.
okay, it was just on the agenda and I was told I couldn't change the agenda. So that's what I was just following it that way. But
Yeah,
if that's the case, if there's, I'm good with that as well.
Yeah, I think you can just make the statement that we are no longer going into executive session so that there's no confusion, that people didn't think that it happened mysteriously.
Okay.
So if you just state we're not doing that, then that kind of balances it with what the agenda says.
Okay. All right then. For tonight's meeting, we will not be going into executive session and we'll be tabling it to February's meeting. Does that sound right, everyone?
Mhm.
Jill? Okay. All right. So, may I please have a motion to adjourn? Tanya
Natalia Menjivar, library board member, motion to adjourn.
and Kat,
Cohen, library board member, I second the motion.
and a roll call. Would everyone, Gail,
Gail Crockett, library board member, approve adjournment.
Bill,
Board member approved.
Kim,
Kim
I know
Cohen,
you already approved your own.
board
And then
member.
Natalia.
Natalia Menjivar, library board member, approve.
All right, so everyone, I thank you for your time this evening and hope you have a good month.
Thanks so
See you
much.
around town.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.